Hi, welcome to our presentation, Setting Up for a Remote Access VPN. This is for the course CIT 370. Our group members are Lorna Brown, Zach Kamat, Kelly Kraft, and Lauren Glenn. Zach set up the virtual private network for our demonstration. Lorna set up the client to access the virtual private network. Lauren did a lot of the research on the multi-factor authentication. And I'm Kelly, I'm the narrator today. So the first step to setting up a virtual private network or a VPN is to access your computer's network connections. You want to create a new incoming connection and you're going to choose which users will receive the VPN access. You want to make sure that you have a box checked that allows computers to connect through the internet and make sure that you're using the Internet Protocol version 4, the TCP/IV4, as your networking software. Then the next step would be to set up your router. And in order to do that, you're going to right click on your network icons and open the Network and Sharing Center. You'll click on the name of your network, and from there you'll look at the details, and that's where you're going to get the IP address of your gateway so that you can set the router up properly. You also want to make sure that you've configured your IP address for your server to be a static IP address and not one that changes frequently. And you'll see why in just a bit. Then you're going to, once you have your default gateway and your IP address, you'll log into your router and you want to set up the port forwarding for port 1723, which is the port assigned to the port transfer protocol that's being used. And you want to set the port forwarding up to your gateway address. And that is what will tell the incoming signal to go to your computer, which is acting as the server. I'm sorry, not the gateway address. You use the IP address of your computer. You're going to, then when you set up the client, you right click on the network icon, which is what Lorna did to set up our demonstration. Select the Open Network and Sharing Center, and then you set up a new connection or network and connect to a workplace. If you see the box that asks if you want to use a connection that you already have, you want to select No and create a new connection. You can then use my internet connection VPN select choice, and you'll type in the IP address of the gateway. That's going to be the home, or if you had a web address like cisco.com, you could use that. In this case, we had an IP address from when Zach set up the VPN. And then you can type any name that will help you know what connection this is. And your setup is complete there. Then you will left click again on your network icon and choose Connect to the VPN connection. When it prompts you, you'll enter a username and password, which will be set up by your network administrator. In our case, Zach's was our network administrator, and he set up a username of CIT 370 for us. And then it should connect. Now, in all fairness, I must say we did not have success connecting our network, and I believe that it comes down to the L2TP tunneling protocols and how that interacts with the firewalls. We were not totally able to resolve that conflict, but these are the basic steps there, and when we find the right firewall setting to disable, it should connect. So once you have a virtual private network set up, there is a real issue with security. You've opened up your network to the world beyond, and you want to be sure that only the people you want in get in. And one way of doing that is through authentication, but a single method of authentication is not very secure. So we have multi-factor authentication if you want to really keep your network secure. And a multi-factor authentication uses two or more types of authentication. It would be something you know, that's your username and password, for example. Something you have, which could be as simple as a USB plug-in key or a key fob that sends out a radio frequency that tells the computer that you're holding it. Something physical that you're holding that the computer can tell you have. or something that you are, and that's something like a fingerprint or voice recognition, for example. And we're seeing the fingerprint recognition popping up now in the iPhone 6, so that's one way that we're all seeing that come about. So to add the multi-factor authentication, we did find that if you have certain software programs that already have it built in, for example, Office 365 allows access, has a unit if you're in the 365 Enterprise Edition that allows you to set up multi-factor authentication. But if you don't have that, like we would not for our small little VPN here that we've created, you could choose to use a third-party provider such as Duo Security. And Lauren did some great research here, found Duo Security, and has outlined some steps here for that. The first thing you want to do is make sure that it's compatible with the VPN that you've created. And then you would download the security software to your computer. You want to enter your VPN, your virtual private network, and look for the configuration section. And then find the area where it allows you to access the settings that allow you to import the Duo security file or whichever company you've used in from your computer into the virtual private network. And here's an example. We didn't actually perform this on our network. These are paid services, but the example that Duo Security provided was of a Cisco network. And you can see here they've downloaded it to their local computer, and then they've got a path down at the bottom to find it for the VPN and import it. Then the next step is to set up an LDAP server, and in that you navigate to the server group section for your VPN configuration and add a new server of the type LDAP and enable that over an SSL, which is a secure connection. And you can see here another example of a Cisco VPN. The great thing is you will use then your original login information, and for example Duo Security here will send a code to your cell phone, which is the something that you have. You then come back and type in the code that was texted to your cell phone, thereby proving that you had the cell phone. And that's a that's a multi-factor authentication. You have two forms of authentication now. So that adds extra security to your virtual private network. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation today. And if you have any more questions, we've added some of the sources that we use to find information. Thank you and have a great day.